Where do you think those trucks are going?
I think there's a harbor that way.
You know these things, and I don't. That's really weird.
Well, that's why I'm in charge.
Yeah, about that. Now that we're AWOL, you're not really a sergeant anymore, are you, Redford?
Either you do as I say, or I'm gonna have to beat your ass into submission.
Yeah, okay. It was just, you know, a technical question, Sarge.
Well, don't ask me no technical questions.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Bad Company. We get to drive an honest-to-goodness tank this time, and it's really fun. The tank does drive genuinely different to the other vehicles. You do have to, like there, stop if you want to take any kind of tight corner. It's a little thing, and honestly, because you're out in the open so much, it doesn't really affect you, but it makes it feel a lot more like a tank. The other thing that's really satisfying is leading moving targets with the shells. You don't often have to do it, and often it's kind of difficult, you don't really get anywhere, but when you manage to nail one, it is the most satisfying feeling in the world. This last half of the level is pretty much just going to be tank warfare all the way to the harbour. So we're going to be seeing a fair amount of armoured action. This is the other reason why I brought the power tool with us, is because, you know, with these little sorties, we're obviously outnumbered, and the reason for that is that we have sort of a magical repairing device that can bring us back to full health. I've honestly never tried to do any of these sections, you know, without the power tool. I really don't think you'd have much luck. There isn't too much in the way of replacement vehicles, and if you're going to do that, you'd have to run away from pretty much every combat section, and that's just no fun.
The Huns are coming!
Armored car!
Great! Less global warming!
You will see infantry dotted around the place, and again in this section you're sort of expected to be using the tank, so most of them are armed with RPGs.
Got him!
In case anyone's wondering, unlike any other game, there's no way of hijacking enemy tanks. They'll never get out of their tanks, you know, until you blow them up, and then they die inside them. So the tank that I have now is pretty much the only one I'm going to be getting. That is me deploying the smoke, and I don't know if you guys feel any differently about it, but I find it pretty damn worthless. I mean, most of the time it's just going to obscure my vision, and it always feels like the AI can see through it a lot better. I don't know. That's honestly the only time I'm going to be using it, because I rarely see any use in it. I find it much more helpful if you're in a defensive situation to just either retreat or keep on the move to see if you can fool their aim. Their aim isn't perfect, and they don't lead their shots amazingly well, so if you're moving and then stop, they will overshoot.
Shouldn't be this much armor around here. I bet we're getting close to something.
Yeah, getting close all right.
One of the things from tank warfare that's sort of inherited from the other Battlefield games is that the rear and sort of below armor is weaker. So in general, if you're fighting tanks, you want to be shooting behind them, and you want to make sure that they can't shoot behind you. Honestly, I don't know how the tank survived. It looks like it had maybe one armor left at the end. I helped out just to make sure that I wouldn't die in the sort of last-ditch case that the tank got blown up. I was fortunately able to destroy the other tank, and now I can go back and kill the other one that was shooting me. You can see here I'm rotating around to make sure that my side is facing it, because the armor is stronger over there. Bullet drop does affect the shells in the tank as well, so it can take a couple of shots to actually get your eye in. The other thing on the tank is that it obviously can't aim down far below where it actually sits on the turret, so you need to be quite careful that you're actually positioning yourself right to be able to shoot any of the enemies. If you're on a hill and you're facing upwards, then you can't necessarily aim downwards at some enemy that's below you. It does kind of get annoying, especially in multiplayer, if you're trying to shoot someone and you just can't because of the way you're sitting. But again, it does feel, you know, sort of appropriately realistic for the Battlefield games. I think that's about all the tanks destroyed in this area, so it's a pretty clear run from here to the harbour. The first time I played this, I wasn't prepared. I didn't have the power tool with me, so my tank got blown up in pretty short order. And let me tell you, trying to get through this area with that much armor with a RPG or C4 is just no fun at all. Over there is the harbour, we're just approaching it now. I tried to throw in a few shells to see if I could blow up the fence, but I had no luck.
This place is heavily guarded.
Well, we're heavily armed.
Are we really going in here?
I know the trucks are in there. I just know it.
All right, let's have a closer look.
This is one of the sections where you tend to get a little bit closer up. At the start, when we're just assaulting it, then obviously, you know, we're fairly far away here. But you do tend to get a lot closer up into the harbour, and again, like I say, it provides a nice sort of variety of gameplay. Some of the tanks around here that sort of sit around can be blown up, but only if you're actually using grenades. It tends not to really be worth it, given that a lot of the enemies are standing far enough away from them that they're not really going to get hurt too much. I will say though that not necessarily everything here is destructible. I'm pretty sure these tanks that I'm sitting next to here are actually completely indestructible. Of course, it would be, you know, kind of impractical to have, you know, entirely destructible terrain everywhere, but in Frostbite 2, in Bad Company 2, they've actually improved significantly, and you can destroy, you know, entire buildings, including the supports and things.
I hate this place.
I don't know if you caught it there, but it looks like some of the mercenaries actually spawned in a little late. I'm not sure exactly why that is. Normally they're pretty good about making sure that all of the enemies are there before you actually come into an area. Again, using my radar there definitely paid off. I was able to see those enemies sitting there behind me, which could have formed a kind of nasty crossfire. One of the problems with this game is that the enemies do tend to feel like they're going for you exclusively. Even if they are shooting your friends, then you always seem to get quite a concentration of fire on your own, and the enemies will sort of turn to face you as well. I don't know if that's just because your team is so useless in comparison to you and the enemies always sort of tend to turn towards the most dangerous target, but it still kind of feels unfair sometimes, especially here when I was trying to sneak up in that vehicle and it just sort of turned around and started shooting me anyway. That was one case where those vehicles actually have a better armor on their top-mounted machine guns than the emplaced ones do. It's really hard to shoot the guys from the front, especially when they're attacking you. So I figured it was easier just to flank around and blow the entire vehicle up. The knife is one useful thing when you're in sort of close quarters like this, because when you're reloading you're not necessarily as useless as you might be at long range.
Hey, that's a big boat.
Sweet. Tell me about the Legionnaire. Cargo holds loaded with gold, right?
Lots and lots of gold.
Let's take a look. This place is swarming with Mercs. I bet the gold is around here somewhere. Stay low. Tangos all over the place.
One of the things that does bug me about Sarge at times is how he uses modern warfare speak. I don't know. I mean, it's a minor thing to complain about, but it does kind of bug me in the, well, fairly light-hearted, honestly, game otherwise. And there's an example of why you don't use that tactic most of the time. Especially if you're not going in there with full health, it's really a risky proposition. One thing I probably should point out is that the Mercs are not Russian, and you will hear them speaking in English at times.
There's someone out there.
The Legionnaire is not a Russian, and his army is, I presume, recruited from all over the world. They're pretty light on the actual background of the Legionnaire. You know, pretty much all you get is that he's the world's most dangerous mercenary and he has, you know, the most dangerous army. I will say that the Legionnaire as a sort of big bad guy isn't really fleshed out enough for you to care. I mean, the gold and the character's motivations in getting the gold is nice and clear and obvious, and it actually works as motivation. The Legionnaire himself as an enemy just kind of falls flat. We barely see him throughout the game, and even when we do, it's just sort of implied most of the time.
Soldiers of B Company, lay down your arms. You are in breach of Army regulations. Lay down your arms or we will take you by force.
Yeah? Says you and what army?
What?
I just always wanted to say that.
Why?
Sounds cool. Really shut him up.
You shut up. Look around.
That army. Say goodbye to the gold.
So, I wonder what jail's gonna be like.
I hear the food's pretty good.
Yeah, I got a feeling the food is gonna be the least of my problems. Dropping the soap is what I'm worried about.
I hate that. It's all mush in your hands. You can't grab it. Slips
You
on you.
two just shut up.